just on it, even?
Hi, Terry.
Hold up.
Four,
Four.
right? Five.
You didn't even meet me.
Oh, well, I'll go.
No, I'm going first. All right, 7. Do we want to start this thing?
Yeah.
Is the recording ready?
Everybody turn on your microphone.
Is recording ready?
Thank you.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Okay. Trouble with only having one ear. Move to open the, today's today, 9th?
8th.
July 8th, meeting of the Groveland Conservation Commission at 7:01.
Second.
I'm not here to second it.
All in favor of opening the Groveland Conservation Commission meeting on July 8th, 2026, say aye.
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 We do not have any members remote, so we don't need to do roll calls unless there's a request for one. All right, so we've got a pretty full agenda this evening, so we'll try to move through things as much as we can. All right. So we'll begin with public hearing. So we have one continued hearing, which is Mass DEP and Groveland Notice of Intent, and I'll reread it. So it's 183 Main Street, Town of Groveland, owner represented by Daniel Gallant of Apex Companies LLC, tax map 06, lot 1A. The Town of Groveland Water and Sewer Department is seeking a Mass DEP and Groveland Notice of Intent for the construction of a water treatment plant and 7,900 linear feet of water main at 183R Main Street. Construction activities are within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands and 200 feet of the Merrimack River.
And to avoid any appearance of conflict of interest, I'm going to recuse.
You're recusing yourself because,
I'm on the water and sewer commission.
yes, okay. Just want to make that clear.
Could be perceived as a conflict of interest.
Okay. So we left off last time. We were almost done with the applicant's presentation, so I'll leave it up to you if you want to continue that. Otherwise, we'll move on to comments and discussion.
All right. Good evening. Alston Potts, Senior Project Manager, Apex Companies. Today, earlier this afternoon, we provided a couple of additional documents as we had discussed last week, or not last week, but last hearing. This was related to two requests from the board, or from the commission, excuse me. The first being a more formalized alternatives analysis that include those two additional sites that I had included in last time's presentation. That would be the two tank sites, so the Perry Hill tank site and the Town Forest tank site. And then the second document that we shared is our mitigation plan to offset some of our impacts in the 200-foot riverfront buffer. So depending on what you all would like me to do, I figure I can walk through the alternatives analysis, and then Danielle Gallant who's our wetlands specialist, can walk us all through the mitigation plan, if that sounds all right with you all.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so you'll see in front of you a memorandum that includes the several alternatives that we assessed for this project. I won't go into extreme detail on some of the ones that are more obviously unsuitable. The first being the well number 1 site, which is fully within a FEMA 100-year flood zone. Existing ground elevations are about 4 feet below the base flood elevation. That's certainly not suitable. So I'll skip past that one unless there are any questions. And I guess I'll just mention, obviously, if you have questions, please feel free to interject. Alternative 2 is the site that we've identified as our preferred site and what we've advanced to nearly 75% design at this stage. We can talk more about that. I suspect really what our conversation is going to be more related to the tank sites. So the Forest Hill tank site, this is located on the eastern side of town, near the town border. This is not a feasible alternative because it is open space, and I think that's where that one opens and closes. Obviously, it's within town forest. It's utilized as a recreational area. Yes, sir.
I just want to know that the property is not under Article 97 protected land.
The town forest
Yeah,
site?
it's not. It's been taken out of that.
Oh, well, I was not aware of that. I do believe that there's no political will in town to utilize this site for this purpose regardless. But please correct me if I'm wrong on that. So if that is not what if that is what we want to discuss here, that's something that I think we can talk more about. What I'll just say for the tanks in general, from an engineering perspective, the challenge of putting all of your water next to a tank means all of that water is going straight to the tank, which means that distributing water through the rest of the system outside of that area becomes more challenging. It requires a lot more infrastructure. You either need to run a much longer water main so that the water's entering farther away from the tank into the distribution system, and you also need to add controls to the tanks to prevent them, the closer one, from overflowing. Water, like many things, follows the path of least resistance. So that I think, again, from an engineering perspective, is a challenging proposition, as well as the locations of both of these sites, and we'll talk about Perry Hill more in a second, but the locations of both of these sites would require quite a bit additional water main just to get the raw water from the wells over to that location. So what is already a fairly expensive project becomes that much more cost prohibitive as a result. But I think the belle of the ball tonight is the Perry Hill tank site, so I want to spend a little bit more time on that.
So can I
Yes, sir.
ask a couple of follow-up questions?
Please.
Regarding the town forest site? So that that the commission fully understands what it would take to put it there. It would require would it require a new line from the wells to the tank site, or could it utilize the line that goes to the tank site now?
It would need a new one, because what we have to do is we have to get the untreated water over to the tank. We can't use the distribution system for that, because that would mean that water is also commingling with what's coming out of your taps. So that's certainly not allowed and defeats the purpose of having treatment in the first place. So you have to run a separate pipe all the way out there for that.
So how does the water get in that tank now?
It is part of the finished water distribution system. So there is a pipe that goes in and out of it. However, again, we're building a treatment facility, so we need to send the untreated water through that before it can actually enter the distribution system.
So, just trying to,
Mhm.
so the water in the tank is untreated and then it goes through the treatment?
Nope. The tank is part of the finished water district. So finished water is what the tanks do, and this really isn't the purpose of this meeting, obviously. The tanks maintain pressure in the system. right? So the reason that water comes out of your taps at a fairly regular pressure is because of these tanks. So again, we're not proposing anything on this site. And, you know, the big elephant in the room here is we are not going to propose to change the location of the building. Doing so would push us back a year. You would lose SRF funding, all that kind of stuff, beyond sort of the constructability concerns.
Okay, so the
And the cost
design stands
implications.
at the location that it stands.
That is, yes, we're
Okay.
not going to propose to
Okay.
move it.
Okay.
Yes. Any additional questions about Forest Hill? Or Town Forest, excuse me.
So, I mean, if you're not going to propose an alternative, I think the request was to provide additional write-up
Mhm.
and analysis, and I guess I don't know why,
Yeah,
if we need to go through it.
right.
You good?
I concur.
Unless we have any other questions about why these wouldn't be suitable. But on the other hand, now we've been told that it doesn't matter whether they're suitable or not, that it's not going to change.
Yeah, and like I said, they answered the request, I think, with providing that other analysis. And
Yeah.
after doing that, if they're still not going to change, I'm going with the sort of engineering judgment. But,
Yep, okay.
okay, so, appreciate it. This,
Yep.
you know,
Thank you.
this,
Of course.
let's, I guess, move on to the second half there.
Yeah, so the second item that we provided was this mitigation plan. It shows some proposed plantings, and there's a second figure on here that shows the proposed planting area with respect to our impacts, just to kind of help visualize that a little bit more. And then I'll let Danielle kind of explain what's going on here. Danielle, are you with us? Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I am. Sorry, I couldn't quickly unmute. I apologize.
no problem.
Good evening, Danielle Gallant, Apex Companies. You will see here, so last meeting, we discussed the area that we are proposing to do some clearing within the riverfront area.
Mhm.
And during that discussion, it was determined that we would provide you with some planting mitigation based on what we are removing at the site.
Great.
So, so what you will see in front of you is a response to that conversation. And you will see that we have calculated out the square footage of clearing that we're planning to do within the riverfront area, which comes to approximately 1,500 square feet. And to mitigate that area, we are proposing to plant approximately a 3-to-1 ratio of 4,500 square feet. As you see here, it actually comes to 6,500 as a total. If you look on the sheet EX2, you will see the dark bold line that outlines the area where we are proposing our mitigation planting. I chose a variety of trees and shrubs that will do good, do well within the riverfront area as we are proposing.
Mhm.
Here you'll see we're proposing red maple, silver maple, swamp white oak as tree species for an overstory. And for an understory, we're proposing some shrubs as silky dogwood, northern arrowwood, winterberry, high bush blueberry, and sweet pepper bush. And we're scattering the plantings so that the trees and the shrubs are intermixed. So we're trying to provide an opportunity for this when it grows in to look more naturalized along the existing trees and forested area. So it doesn't look quite so much as a planted mitigation area.
That's great. Thank you for doing that.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns about what we proposed here?
Nope, I'm good. Appreciate the effort.
set? Okay, so the next thing we'll do is open it up for anyone who has public comment on what the project is about or questions. And just for the sake of transparency, you use the stand and state your name and address for us if you've got a comment.
Anybody?
Do you mind if I read from sitting down?
Do we have a
Because I
mic?
have a paper.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. We'll give you a microphone.
Thank you. For being helpful. Thank you. Is it ready? Okay. Have you got the sheets that I have provided?
Oh, yeah.
Which ones are they?
No, hold on.
Did you have an opportunity to read it, or should I read it?
No, you can. Let me make sure I give
Can
it-
you hear me now?
Here you go. This wasn't in the packet.
Oh, okay. You can read it.
Okay, I'd like you to read the first 4 sections, if you would. That's the story of the river. And next, I'd like to turn to the narrative. Is that all right? Clearly, the tidal Merrimack is an unpredictable river. Above the minor flood stage of 50, as global warming is creating unpredictable weather patterns, which we're all now experiencing. It seems to me that the site chosen, which is very close, in fact, almost 2 feet from the floodplain marked in the diagrams, is a remarkably unwise choice. I became aware of this potentially dangerous situation when I attended an early engineering introduction design plans to the Water and Sewer Commissioners in June last year. No part of its plans did engineers address the issue of any necessary excavation on the site. Later, I was informed it would excavate somewhere around 10 feet. I pointed out that the site was vulnerable to flooding, and surprisingly, the landscape design architect agreed with my concern, namely global water warming. From this point, I have been actively involved myself in the location of this project. The following is the statute which you as conservation commissioners are required to enforce. You can read that. I have bolded the relevant sections that apply to this project. The case, put simply, is a case of putting the cart before the horse. I wonder why the Water and Sewer Commissioners belatedly chose to present the notice of intent to your commission only in May this year, after they contracted engineering services at least a year ago. This clearly is an abnormal procedure. Could it be that they did not wish to ask the Commission within the normal procedural process to approve this vulnerable site adjacent to the floodplain for fear of your Commissioner's disapproval? This conjecture is further supported by the almost cursory manner by which the project was presented this spring at town meeting, when little detail was presented. The fact is that the EPA federal mandate gave the Commission no choice in the issue of cleaning out low levels of organic fluoride complexes from our well water, namely PFAS. The town residents were confident the relevant commission was able to solve any problems that arose. In retrospect, as in this case, this seems a questionable assertion. Close examination of the statute indicates that the fact that the applicant is violating the bolded sections of the statute presented. I believe that the Commission should decline this application on these grounds and ignoring regulating activities in wetlands and adjacent areas which are subject to flooding. Let us turn later to 3 possible remedies. 2 to 4. To this situation, which I will need careful site evaluation. At a meeting last September, the chairperson mused an alternative site. If pressed and suggested maybe placement of this industrial plant in front of the Pines Elementary housing would suffice. This lot is tentatively saved for a future senior center. This site would provide increased elevation, but barely adequate for the case of extreme flooding. This location is a very small lot, and coupled with negative aesthetics of an industrial building at the center of town complex, plus the to and fro of industrial trucking, this site is certainly unappealing. The second one, I and the chairperson who is sitting in front of me presented the alternatives 5-acre site which should be considered with a suitable elevation. Now, I did present this to the board previously, and they rejected it offhand without any evaluation, just saying that the access routes were impossible to deal with. They did not prove to me that that was the case. They made no attempt to change or even look at that situation. Next, the next site is the 36 acres of Wood Street. You have just been discussing that, and I understand that you've dismissed that again, namely because of price considerations. Finally, the most appealing site is within Strawberry Fields area. The site is 2 to 3 acres with an excellent drainage and adjacent to the town garage complex. This location with minor modifications could allow easy access to the site. There is also access to well number 1 site with few constraints and with sandy soils between site 1 and the well 1, hopefully making the preparation easy. Their argument against changing the site is that time is short in order for construction to meet the required deadline. This is a problem they created for themselves by not doing it in the right procedure. However, the current placing of the plant should be rejected and another site chosen if change makes the construction past the deadline. Then they will have to negotiate a new completion date. The argument, In conclusion, the examination of the reported pattern of flooding noted at the beginning of this presentation presents the case of how vulnerable the site is. The site is not only adjacent to the 100-foot floodplain, it indeed abuts it. My experience of industry, 3 years in the steel industry, has shown me that how over time clutter and attendant pollution occurs. Even conscientious operators cannot predict and dismiss the possibility of accidental accidents occurring. I realize this is a tough decision. However, if you decide not to approve this application, which I certainly hope you do not, on the grounds that granting the applicant permission to locate the plant on a selected site will impact the wetlands areas next to the site. When flooding occurs, in addition, placing the plant near a recreational area is not very appealing to the residents when there's a number of alternatives to be considered. Hopefully, future residents will be pleased that you did not fall for the fatal short-term gain versus long-term loss solution that prevails in decisions of this kind, that you do not approve a plant in this location, which I believe, if approved, it will eventually result in a waterlogged plant 15 to 30 years from now, or maybe even sooner. I rest my case.
Can you do me a favor and just state your name and address?
My name is Francis J. Osborne. I live at 3 Pleasant Street in Groveland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to have some answers to the question of procedure. Why was it done the wrong way?
Is this the wrong way?
I mean, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so maybe I'm misstepping here.
The procedure should have been simple. They come to you first, and then they decide, agree that for the site, and then they design their plant. They've designed the plant and then come to you for permission.
I understand, but
It's the wrong way around.
we don't control what the Water and Sewer Commission does. We
I know that, but
react to people coming before us and
excuse me, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. If you read the directions in the Massachusetts, I sent the material to you. Did they get it, Mike?
No.
Saying what the procedure is.
Well,
The procedure is to come before you first, before you design the plant.
here's what happens. That might be, in my opinion, this is my opinion, would be a wiser way to go, because, and typically, developers might come in and talk to us. They might file an RDA, which shows some plan, and then they say, should we file a notice of intent for this? How's it look? Does it look like, this might be possible or not? They can even have like a technical review committee with other departments in the town to go over something like that. I don't know if there was a TRC for this, was there? Okay, all right, so I suspect that's where they went. And then they come before us with a completed application. Now, the risk in doing that is indeed that, if the permit isn't granted, then all of the planning, either they have to change their plan, or maybe they have to go back to the drawing board and do something completely different. But probably that's the standard route that people do. They might have a TRC, they might file an RDA, maybe not, but usually then they'll come before us with a notice of intent, with the risk that, we might say no. And I think that's the case here.
If you read the Massachusetts recommendations, it states that it is strongly recommended that the applicant goes before the Conservation Commission before being considered for the construction, approval of the design and construction. So this was ignored.
Well,
Why?
They did it at their own risk.
Well, it doesn't seem to me much of a risk when clearly they presented the case. It's going to cost all this much more money to do it properly. Oh, well, we'll have to do it the cheap way then. That's the tone I'm getting from one of your members on this board right now.
Who is giving a tone?
Sorry?
One of us is giving a tone?
The gentleman there, I don't know your name, Mr. Formosa. Formosa, you seem to imply that the reason for not doing putting the well up on the top of the hill next to the tank at Wood Street, well, it's the cost involved, isn't it?
It has nothing to do with cost. I didn't mention cost at all.
Well, somebody did. I'm sorry if I misread your comments.
When I talked about this and said that I think we didn't have to look at the alternatives, I read them. Last time we were here, we asked them for a little further analysis of the two other places. They provided that. Based on what I see, engineering-wise and cost-wise, I'll say that now, to me, it doesn't make sense to go into the town forest and try to put it up on a hill. Okay? To me, they answered the questions engineering-wise. I know you were concerned about the wetlands. I am absolutely too. That's why I'm on the board. It does get very close to the floodplain.
It's within 20 feet of it.
Within 20 feet of it.
Yes,
That's close. It's not in the floodplain.
I know, but imagine you've got a flood. Where's it going to go? Does it stop just at the edge of the floodplain? No, of course not.
No, but listen, my background from engineering, all I can say is when we put plans together, and I'm not a floodplain engineer, but I have to believe in the science and the you know, equations that they put in. They've proven that there is a border. If we keep saying, yes, I know, but it's a little further, we kind of think it's going to be, all we have right now is the equations to work with and the predictions that we think. So yes, would I like it to be elsewhere? I do, but I have to think of the whole project. Okay? And I know you say short-term gains versus long-term gains,
Loss.
but the penalties on this, besides money, are that we will be continuing to ingest PFAS. Okay, that's my concern.
Okay, so, so I want to summarize kind of what you're saying. You would like consideration of other sites.
Well, let's just pick one.
Oh.
Number 4.
So I don't want to get into it too much because we got to move through this, but, you know, you would like us to ask for more consideration on 2 sites that weren't considered. One is behind the fire station. There's no reservation of that parcel for anything else. So it's a potential site. And the other one is
Number 4.
Strawberry Fields,
That's right.
right? Here's, I think, where we're talking about on that one. So we can ask for that. We'll ask for that and see what happens, okay? And as you say, you know, you're not happy with how the plan was presented, obviously. But it is what it is, and, you know, like I say, it's a risk for anyone to not come to the commission first and make sure that our,
Could I have an answer from the engineers why they did it that way? Or alternatively,
chose to
from
do.
the Board of Water Commissioners?
that's what they chose to do. I have no idea. You know, personally, maybe I wouldn't have,
Very convenient, I must say.
you know.
I'm not impressed.
Okay.
I've said my piece.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so,
Hey, Mike?
yeah.
Sorry, and I apologize because I wasn't here at the last meeting. I guess I'll direct it to you, and maybe you can or can't answer this. Can you very briefly tell me, I'm assuming you were contracted by the Water and Sewer Commission?
Correct.
You were given a
Or
set of,
by the department.
by the department. Sorry, you were given a set of, I assume, a set of specs, go out and investigate this based on these criteria. Is
So
that
we
correct-ish?
previously in 2021 did a feasibility study for a treatment plant before PFAS was an issue because metals have long been an issue in this town.
Okay.
And at that time, we had identified this site as a likely good candidate.
And what was that based on? Can you?
A lot of it's based on proximity to the wells. It's based on minimal impacts to residents. It's based on the fact that we are actually not in a floodplain. We are not impacting the wetlands. There is, on our plans, and it might be getting misconstrued, we show the 100-foot buffer from the floodplain on our plans. And that kind of goes through the planting area in this exhibit that we shared earlier.
So from a, because I'll go out on a limb here based on how I used to do things when I designed stuff. When you say you chose a site, the number one is like you, or a very important criteria is you're pulling water from the ground, you want to treat it as soon as possible,
Yes.
which is convenience, minimum expense, most efficient, et cetera, before you introduce it into the water system.
Yes.
So having a treatment plant near a well makes logical sense.
Near a well on a parcel that has space in a location that, again, isn't in residents' backyards. It's now next, you know, it's proposed to be next to the new skate park, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, and it has to be town-owned, available, not at the top of a mountain,
Yes.
like all these reasonable things. So when Mr. Osborne brought up, for example, Strawberry Fields, there's town forests, there's all these other things. Were you given the instructions by the town to go look at everything the town owns and come back with something, or?
No, I think we were all, we had considered predominantly the 2 well sites because those are optimal.
From an engineering, construction standpoint,
Correct.
right next to where the water comes up, makes the most sense to treat it immediately before you bring it into
Exactly.
the system.
Upon looking at those 2 locations, one of them is clearly not an option, right? Fully in the floodplain, difficult to build, small. And so the other location, which is the location that we're proposing, checks all of the boxes, essentially. And so for that reason, I think we internally on our end, from the engineering perspective, believe this to be the optimal site. And in discussions with the department and the commission, we all were on the same page about where to proceed.
Seems to me there's no attempt to look at any other site. They are already said 2 wells right there, off the floodplain, there, and it's cheap.
So
It's a very poor way of making a decision.
I would counter that with having only been involved with this in the last 35 minutes. No matter what you think, cost is always going to be an issue.
Sorry?
Cost is always going to be an issue. I hear what you're saying, but if we would say we want to do anything in town that we think, you could have a whole bunch of criteria, at the end of the day, cost is always an issue. And there's always a trade-off in doing certain things. I understand that. However, from my understanding, it seems like we're not in the floodplain. We're not,
You are in the floodplain, you're only feet away from it.
but there's a,
If I can speak to that. So the 100-year floodplain is within essentially the borders of the Merrimack River. The elevation of that floodplain, which was defined by FEMA in July of last year, not shortly after we started this project, at 18.7 feet. Our proposed finished floor elevation is 25 feet. So it is, whatever that math is, 6.3 feet.
Are you elevating the site then?
No, that is just, it is a very steep drop-off in this area to the river. So it's deceivingly high compared to the proximity to the water body. And for that reason, we there's standards that we look at, right? So there's this thing called the Federal Flood Risk Management Standard, which was like an Obama-era executive order that defines how we want to go about protecting our critical facilities against flooding specifically. For a critical facility, the Federal Flood Risk Management Standard says that we need to make sure that we are a minimum of 3 feet above that 100-year flood elevation. We're 6.3 feet above it, so we more than double it, right? So from every metric that we're aware of, and we do this a fair amount, we are fairly confident that we are meeting all of the requirements. We are more than providing the separation that we need to make sure that this facility is protected in the long term from something like this. I don't want to suggest here that I don't care about that, because I do. This is my life's work, essentially, is building these types of things to try to make everybody's water cleaner, safer to drink. And I wouldn't sleep at night if I had known that I had snuck in a treatment plant within a flood zone, because that's not proper. And I truly understand your concern, of course, right? This is a big undertaking, and we all want this facility to run well for a long time, be protected against the crazy weather that we've been having, that we will continue to have and will likely get worse. But based on all the information that we have, we believe that what we are proposing here today, meets all of the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act. We have a little bit of 200-foot riverfront area impact. We're proposing to do 3 times as much plantings within the riverfront to offset that impact. We're doing what we can here, I think, and I genuinely believe that where we're proposing to put this facility is the best option for the town.
Well, in 30 years, and in fact, even 10 years, I won't be around. It's not my problem. It's the
Really appreciate your concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The reason for me asking
Yeah,
that, Mike, is I
yeah.
question looking at different sites. I mean, I mean, yeah, Strawberry Fields, it's owned by the town. I don't know the legal nuances where something gets given to the water and sewer department, I don't know how that would work. But, the site they're proposing seems to meet all the criteria. It makes sense in my head. It's right next to a well where the source is, which you want to treat right away. It is a very public place. There's the senior housing near it. But other than that, it's recreation. It's not like it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood. I question, what is the benefit of looking, forcing them to come back with some other alternatives? Because I think ultimately, it's gonna come down, I don't know how much pipe we would have to lay to Strawberry Fields. I don't know how that would all.
I'm not sure where that location is.
Yeah, but it would,
It's off Center Street.
So,
But-
so,
my feeling is we vote on it now. I don't understand.
well, I've got another comment to read, and then I've got a couple of questions for the commission. Okay, so let's move on. So here's a comment from longtime resident John Christopher of Coleman Road in Groveland. Says, the flood of 1938 left downtown Groveland inundated with several feet of river water. I believe there are pictures at Town Hall. In response to this great flood, several dams were built along the Merrimack to prevent any future occurrence. Those dams were built not only before global warming became a concern, but before the vast drainage area of the Merrimack was not built up with impervious areas such as additional roadways and parking lots, which did not exist in the late 1930s and 40s when the flood control plan was conceived. Therefore, the effectiveness of those dams today in mitigating floods is diminished in comparison to when they were built. Computer models marking flood zones are helpful, but like most computer models, they reflect certain variables and assumptions. Over the years, flood maps do change. Couple these considerations with the threat of global warming, and it may be worthwhile for the town to take a second look at the location of this treatment plant. So, another comment, regarding, is that the best place to put it? All right. So as far as the commission discussion on it, I believe that there's a problem with the application in that there are a couple of things within buffer zones that can't be there according to our bylaw. There's a generator pad within the 100-foot buffer, and road widening, I believe it is also within the buffer zone. So I don't think we can approve this permit in its current form right now. And, it'd be great. The alternate site suggested at Strawberry Field didn't seem to be considered by anybody in the past, so, I'd love to hear why that wouldn't be adequate. But maybe not, because we've already been told that no matter what site's being presented, it's not going to change the plan, so. But, like I say, I don't believe we can approve this permit because of the bylaw prohibition against items in the buffer zone that are industrial or commercial.
May I speak to those two concerns? if
Sure.
you'll allow it? So, just to be clear, I just want to make sure I understand what you're looking at. So the generator pad, I believe you're talking about, is at well 1, correct? The road widening is down by the existing well station, well 3, near the proposed facility. Is that what you're speaking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
Just want to make sure that I'm centered on what you're looking at.
isn't there road widening taking place here at well 1? Well 3 and 4, I mean.
So we are, if you look at, the exhibit's the exhibit 2 from the materials we provided today is a good document to look at for this. So we are proposing a permanent alteration of 574 square feet of additional paving to get down to well 3. To compensate for that, we are removing 1,800 square feet of existing asphalt within that buffer zone to offset those impacts. So it's essentially a net negative of additional impervious area, if you will. So it's less impervious area is what we're proposing within that buffer zone. At well 1, we are requesting a waiver for the location of the generator because the entire site is located within the flood zone. It's either we put the generator within the flood zone or well 1 does not operate during a power outage. Those are our two options, essentially. So we figured that it would be better to have the generator. And so we're requesting a waiver for flood storage mitigation at that location.
Unfortunately, the bylaw doesn't have a waiver for that kind of stuff, unfortunately. We don't.
I believe the
we don't-
Wetlands
we don't
Protection Act
waive-
from SDE
We don't waive
does.
anything within the 100-foot buffer for industrial, commercial projects such as this.
But-
There's already a generator there. Exists.
Violation 2?
But
Well-
this is utilities, this is not, I mean, I get it in the sense that a generator is an industrial kind of a piece of equipment, but this is a public utility, it's not, it's different than someone wants to.
Yeah, but read the bylaw.
I get it, but if you look at the transformers and whatnot that they have at the substation, I guarantee you they're filled with oil. Now, they have different oils, but my point is, it's different than someone, whatever, wanting to, a machine shop wanting to set up
Right,
a tank with some god-awful chemical in it.
yes. This is a water treatment plant.
This is necessary infrastructure.
Yes.
Well, show me on the bylaw where it says you can make an exemption for a utility. Where? And there's no exemptions talked about. There's no waivers talked about for that. And we have never done that. We don't do it. How many times have we turned down projects because there was something in the 100-foot buffer? Oh, it's just 5 feet in the buffer. We want to put a generator like on Federal Way. And we made them take it out of there because we have to be fair to everyone.
You're
And just
absolutely
because
right.
this
They're
is
saying, though, that there's already a generator there.
Well, that doesn't matter. Maybe that was put there
It's
before
pre-existing. Right, before wetland.
bylaw existed.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think there's a big difference between a public utility and a commercial enterprise. I get what you're saying, Mike.
There is for the Wetlands Protection Act, but not for our bylaw.
Would this be classified as industrial? I mean, so you've got
Well,
like zoning.
There's only 3 choices in the bylaw: commercial, industrial, or residential. So it has to fall into one of those categories. It's an industrial plant.
So the bylaw doesn't have anything for public utility?
I don't think this is industrial. It's not creating
well,
anything.
what
It's
is it then?
filtering water. It's a public utility. I think it
But
is its own category.
There's no mention of that in the bylaw.
Well, then it's its own category. It's not, we couldn't predict that this was going to happen, so obviously we didn't have utility added. I don't think trying to squeeze it into industrial when it's not creating anything is appropriate.
It's creating clean water.
It's
That doesn't
filtering
get
water.
created if we don't have a generator.
It's filtering water.
The current pad
The
for
current pad, if you fell off the pad, you would be in the Merrimack River. The
So-
proposed one is further away.
So, that's at well 3. We're talking about well 1 specifically. Well 3, I'll reiterate, because we mentioned this last time. The generator that Colin's referring to, and there's a transformer pad as well, that are both next to the existing well facility, very close to the Merrimack, up the hill. We're removing those. I believe
Okay.
you might recall from last time.
Yeah.
What we're talking about, Colin, is over at well 1, where the site is fully within the flood zone, no matter where you turn.
That also has a generator.
Correct.
And are you removing that pad and putting a new one in?
That generator is located in the old EPA building. So we are demoing it, but we're not proposing to modify that building because it's currently defunct.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't want to make a motion to deny the permit, because I think that would be sad, but certainly, right now, I don't see how we can approve it. So what I would like to do is have the applicant take a look at what they can do to get that stuff out of the 100-foot buffer and come back to us. They've already done a good job of mitigating the impact of widening the road.
Mm.
So,
If it,
because I don't think they were fully aware that the bylaw was going to say they can't do that. Because they asked for a waiver, and there's no waiver.
So, I hear what you're saying, Mike, and I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but if I think back to the many places where people have come in for additions or whatever, and they're near the
Yeah,
wetlands.
those
all
are
that stuff.
residences,
Well,
though.
I understand. What if they happen to have an oil tank in the basement or an oil tank buried next to the house, and a lot of houses are like 25 feet away from water? Like by what, and not that I disagree to keep things as far away as we can, but the reality is if we put the bar up here for a public utility, say you can't, I assume the issue with the pad is that we're gonna have diesel fuel on site.
It's not even diesel fuel,
Gas.
it's natural gas.
So,
there's no storage tank.
okay, so what is the issue? The concrete pad for the generator, or the fact that the generator has oil in it to lubricate the motor?
I'm still stuck on categorizing this as industrial.
Well, I'm with you there.
I-
There probably should have been a carve-out in the bylaw. or
Yeah, but
should
we couldn't
propose
predict that this would be an issue.
Right, but we should maybe have one for public utilities,
Mm.
which is sort of a separate thing for the greater good of everybody. But if the intent of the bylaw was to prevent certain things, so is it the concrete pad or the equipment that's on the pad?
There's something in the 100-foot buffer that goes against what the bylaw says, that's all. Doesn't matter what it is.
Okay, but,
But the whole facility is within the 100-foot buffer.
right, and it's the existing thing, and I'm sure you guys have federal laws you have to follow as far as equipment required to have on site, which I assume the generator's part of that,
It's
to
best
be able to
practice.
provide.
I mean, you all have 3 wells, 2 of them pump through and are powered by the existing well station. I'm pointing probably in the wrong direction, but the existing well station down by the Merrimack, the
Right.
well 3 building. And then your other which provides full redundancy otherwise, is this facility. So, especially with having so few wells, I would not recommend not having a standby generator. We're also proposing to put it in the existing fenced area that's clear and has the other structures within it. So it's not, we're not proposing to go, within the 100-foot buffer, within an existing sort of wild, more vegetated area.
You're not further encroaching on
Correct. We are
any,
staying within the confines of the existing sort of well facility area.
I don't,
I want to remind the commissioners, think back, think of the many times we've been approached about putting things in the 100-foot buffer for projects like this, commercial projects,
But I would argue
industrial
those,
projects.
I would argue, Mike, those are brand-new things, and I do believe. there's
No,
a
they
difference.
weren't brand-new things necessarily.
For example,
For example, on Federal Way, remember when they insisted they were gonna put generators in the 100-foot buffer for an existing building?
But-
And we wouldn't allow it. We made them go back and move it out. And so I believe that that's what we have to do in this case.
That was the cable company?
And so, you know, we've been very careful because this is a difficult thing to enforce, such as a case this. You know, the argument is, well, this is different. This is very important. This is
I
required.
mean, I'd like to not drink PFAS.
Neither would I. But on the other hand, you know, once we set a precedent on this, we're gonna have to argue with a lot of other people when they come in and say, well, my project has to have this, you know?
So that would be on us then to,
Ask them if
Sweet.
they're also critical
well,
infrastructure.
we'll,
And when they say no, then you say the same standard.
We have no way to say that.
unless we change.
I mean, I think
the
that's,
Yeah, we could change the bylaw.
We should change the
Sure.
bylaw. I think with what's coming down in the line that we don't know,
But
it's just,
we can change the bylaw, but the bylaw is what it is tonight.
yeah,
you know?
understand.
So what you're saying is if you change the bylaw, it's okay?
Well, we'd have to change, yeah, changing the bylaw is not
It's
easy,
not easy.
believe
No,
me.
that's something we would have to discuss.
You have to go to town meeting to change the bylaw.
Council, town meeting, I think select board has to approve it, or a bunch of things.
That's a pretty big delay.
all right.
So I would like to continue this to our next meeting and ask the applicant to come up with an alternative solution. I don't know what the alternative solution is, but they gotta come up with an alternative solution so that we don't have to set a new precedent of what we're gonna allow under the bylaw.
I'm not sure that I agree with this.
So I just want to be clear, the only issue you have is the concrete pad? for the
Well, that
generator?
seems to be. I don't like the location. I think it's a poor location, but we've already been told it doesn't really matter.
It's not that it doesn't matter. He gave the reasons for why this is the best location.
He
It's
said-
not about nothing matters.
If there's design standards and we exceed those, you can't just change the design standards because you don't like them.
I don't think people are being nefarious
It's
about
not about the
building,
design
about building a water
standards.
filtration site.
It's where it is. Has nothing to do with the design
It's on land
standards.
that the water department owns.
Yeah, in the middle of a recreation
We
area.
don't, the water department
It's not in the
doesn't own that
middle.
for
It's
recreation.
next to the recreation area.
but that,
If it meets all
Michael.
criteria, then it is an acceptable site, based on all the scientific principles, right?
You're asking my
I'm
opinion.
not, no, I'm just,
okay?
I'm
I
telling
know
you.
that other people will not share my opinion, but I'm just telling you my opinion. But the main problem with the application is that it violates the wetland bylaw. And I don't want to set a new precedent of allowing it because it's a utility, it's not industrial, it's not commercial, and it's absolutely necessary.
So I'm not convinced it's violating the bylaw if it's not industrial. No,
Who says it's not industrial? What is it? The bylaw, it has to be one of what the bylaw says, because that's all the bylaw
no,
covers.
it doesn't. It can be its own category.
But then
You're
it
squeezing it into
doesn't-
industrial
It
so that,
doesn't fit in the bylaw then.
okay.
If it's some other
Okay.
thing, it doesn't fit in the
The
bylaw.
issue go away.
Say that?
Sounds to me like it does.
What?
If he removes the generator from the plan, from this particular application, does the issue go away?
But how can you do that?
We can't have a generator stop this entire process and delay it another year. We simply cannot do that.
So that's what I'm saying. Go back and see what are the possibilities. You know, maybe, yes, you remove the generator. Maybe there's another place to put it. I don't know. That's not my job to figure that out. You know, rather than us deciding tonight, I'd prefer to have you go back and look at what you can do about it. Doesn't that
So,
make sense?
I mean, that's reasonable, except there is no, the whole parcel of land is in your jurisdiction, so there's nowhere else to put it. Unless we put it on like the top of a telephone pole.
I think we talked about this last time about
Yeah,
whether,
there was no problem last time with it, so now, like, are we gonna go through the motions of coming up with a new idea and then come back next month and you come up with something?
No, no, that's an insult.
Michael,
Well, he's accusing us of trying to force it through the board, which is,
Well, he's not a
Crazy.
member of the board. And what I'm saying is, you know, is nothing
I
new.
understand that
These
you're
all,
following the
these
rules, but
3 other commissioners know what I'm talking about.
I think to even entertain the fact of having a well that will not run when the power goes out is ludicrous. And I know that that's what your bylaws say, but that's not the solution. It's not.
What does the bylaw say about National Grid's transmission lines?
They have to obey the bylaw.
So when they pull out this huge project that they're about to come in, they're not allowed to put them back there?
No, they have to apply for a permit with us.
But then it's in a wetland, so they can't be there, so they can't put the power lines there?
I would argue, Mike, all of that stuff, if we're gonna categorize public utilities as industrial, all of the stuff National Grid is doing is industrial.
And
Between their substation work they're doing, all the towers they're building, the concrete pads they're building, all the roadways, well.
is it worth
I'm
talking
part of
to town council or something about the specific wording and how this potentially cannot be categorized as industrial? Like, I don't,
It seems to me like we screwed up on the bylaw whenever the heck, back in the 80s.
I don't know if we screwed up, we just didn't anticipate.
Well, it screwed up in the sense
And
that
by
there
we,
probably
I
should
mean
be a
you.
category for public utilities, which is, in my opinion, very unique, because
It's infrastructure.
it's like for the greater good of everybody, it's, you know, so that's a unique category, I believe, but I'm of the opinion, I don't think they're gonna be able to come up with an alternative, seeing as how the whole site is in wetlands. And I don't know the details of the water and sewer department, but it sounds like endlessly delaying this doesn't help anybody.
It's not endlessly delaying.
But, so let me play devil's advocate. My guess is if we say we're gonna continue to next month, come back with an alternative, what do you think the alternative's gonna be?
I don't
There
know.
really isn't one.
Or the only thing would be, we're not gonna do the generator. Which, I understand you think that's foolish, but my point is that would be the only thing you could come back with, right? So,
Because that doesn't
I guess-
change with changing the location of the,
It has nothing to do with location.
it has nothing to do with
This is
location. So this is,
ancillary
right,
facility
so,
That is 2 miles from.
right,
the
right,
proposed
so,
facility.
But not that I think you guys are just trying to, continue and continue.
no,
But we did mention like, there is a hard deadline
Yep.
or we lose significant funding,
Which is, remind me,
$15 million.
no, the deadline.
October 2nd.
Oh, that's when you have to,
That's when we have to file all this paperwork
Okay.
with Mass DEP. And, it was brought up that, or suggested that maybe this, like, that was our plan, was to like wait until the last minute to submit. Couldn't be further from
no,
the truth.
everything, what's in the procedure and process is recommendations. You chose a path, you didn't violate any laws or regulations, so it's just the way you choose. Now we are in the position that we are in because we have concerns, so it's working out that way. And I'm just brainstorming. Is there a way to separate some of this stuff so that you can proceed with the plant? And we talk about the generator additionally. I know, I don't,
I don't wanna speak out of turn, but.
No, no, and I don't wanna
remove the
screw up-
Generator from the application and then deal with it separately would be my suggestion, but I'm not,
Can we consult DEP?
They're not gonna answer anything.
Nobody would
about
have
the
any input
bylaw.
on this?
Not about the bylaw.
I mean, they'll tell you that they highly recommend that we have backup power, but they're not gonna,
I mean, I guess, is there somebody out there with expertise in dealing with something like this? If we're at a,
Yeah, but what expertise
so,
is
yeah,
there?
the expertise is,
It's more,
you would want to keep it running if you lose power.
well, I'm just thinking of of being stuck on the industrial
yeah, no,
part.
you're talking about the bylaw, so
Mhm.
it would have to be a legal opinion.
I think that's a very good thing. At some point in the future, we should bring that up to see if we want to attempt to tweak the bylaw.
So,
But we're not going to resolve that in the next couple of months. That's,
why don't you take the generator out of this application, file it separately later, and we can then have the time to get a legal opinion from town council on whether or not it would be outside of the bylaws purview.
is that gonna require us to completely refile?
For the generator?
No,
What-
to pull the generator,
Oh, no.
just have to ask.
No.
You never know what's gonna
From
happen.
us, no.
No.
So,
It's, you're making a change to the plan while it's still actively,
Removing the generator with the plan to add it back in the future.
yeah,
what you're
as
saying?
a separate filing, they could come back with an RDA and we can get a legal opinion on it.
does that jeopardize your plans with other boards or getting the money?
I mean, it certainly doesn't make it any easier.
you know,
But we can't, my non-engineer opinion would be, we can't let that generator affect the timeline for the plan.
But if you can take that out tonight, I am assuming that it would pass.
I wouldn't push it on tonight. I mean, they have,
I mean,
you're gonna have to
Can we-
talk to somebody.
Do you want to
have a boss
continue it
somewhere.
and then,
I'm the boss.
You're the boss, oh, okay.
Well, he actually, sorry, Colin's the boss. Colin's on board with this. Can you make it a condition that as part of this decision, the generator at well station number 1 is not included in the project and be considered further under a separate cover? Can you do something along those lines?
Yeah,
I think we should
I
do
don't
that.
see why not.
That way we can,
That way there, we're not asking you to go back and change the plans, remove it,
Yeah.
come in with a new set of plans, right?
I'm just talking out of turn here, but I want to suppose if, say we do this, right? And then we speak to town council and they come back and say, you're way off base, it's not an industrial thing, whatever. They can do an amended,
Well, they could, or just file an RDA.
okay, then they could do that, okay. So I just trying to make it simple in the future, not that we have to go
I appreciate
through this whole thing again, but I'm of the opinion we make a motion now, carve that out, as you stated, and vote on it.
I agree.
As we-
Make the motion then.
Okay, well, I didn't see the original plan, so I'm a little bit.
Well, the plan as presented, the
Yeah.
project as presented, with the exception of the generator pad.
Yep, so I make a motion, we approve the plans as presented for 183 R Main Street by the town of Groveland, represented by Apex Companies for the Groveland Water and Sewer Department, with the exception that the generator pad at well 1 be removed at this time to be further reviewed with town council and other appropriate people to see what can happen in the future.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
does the plan as presented also include this mitigation area?
Yes, because they altered the
Okay.
plan, you know,
Okay,
all the plans that
Okay.
have been presented to us, I think,
great.
without going into any detail. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 3-1. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let's move on to,
Welcome back.
the next is Mass DEP Groveland Notice of Intent for 0 Main Street, Town of Groveland, owner. Myself, Chair of the Conservation Commission, is the applicant, represented by Williams and Sparagus Engineers, tax map 33, lot 09. Applicant is seeking to install a footbridge on an existing trail within the Town of Groveland Center Street Greenway, open space and recreation area. The footbridge crosses a perennial stream and abuts adjacent bordering vegetated wetlands. So I'm going to turn it over to Williams and Sparagus to tell us about this.
You can use the mic to stand wherever you want.
Okay, now it's on. All right, hi everybody. My name is Justine Fox. I'm with Williams and Sparagus, representing the applicant, their chair, this evening. So, like Mike mentioned, this is a proposed pedestrian footbridge that goes over the perennial Argilla Brook. Am I saying that right? On the Center Street Greenway parcel. So, up here we have the Groveland Community Rail Trail. And there's some dirt paths that connect. There's an existing dirt path that connects to the Center Street Greenway trails, and it currently cuts through the center of Argilla Brook with no formal crossing. There's kind of a pile of sticks there that people have placed, and it is causing a blockage in that section of the creek. It's kind of partially dammed in that area. And people are either crossing on that bridge or walking directly through all of the wetland resource areas in question here. So I delineated these wetlands in April of this year. I'll kind of just go through all the wetland resource areas in question here. So the lightest green line is the bordering vegetated wetlands. We have the B series to the south of the brook, the A series, which kind of comes all the way up to the Groveland Community Trail, and then down to the closer to the edge of the brook, and then goes all the way to wetland flag A20, where there's an intermittent stream that comes in here, kind of near the C series. And so the whole part of this path is within the buffer zone to this bordering vegetated wetland. There is also bank or mean annual high water in a few locations. It's mostly bank of Argilla Brook, which is the blue line here on both sides. And extending from that, there's the 200-foot riverfront area, which is in darker blue here. The dark bold line is the limit of the flood zone AE. It's elevation 38.5 in this location. And those are all the wetland resource areas in question. The bridge is 48 feet long, and it's proposed to go over most of those wetland resource areas. It is within BVW. It's fully within resource areas. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. We thought, originally one of our engineers thought about placing it outside of the wetland resource areas, but since it's an existing trail, there's no vegetation in the path that it's proposed on right now. If we were to move it to completely avoid wetland resource areas, we would be having to remove vegetation along the brook, which was not the goal of this project. The main goal of this project is to provide safe access for pedestrians to the Center Street Greenway trails from the Groveland Community Trail, as well as improve the quality of the wetland resource areas here, which are currently being trampled by foot traffic.
Then the cut-through is already in the rail trail fencing, so.
Yeah, I included a picture with the application that kind of shows the existing conditions. Yeah, the area is completely unvegetated, and the
Is this a residential area? Is this a residential?
Terry was
No,
with
you
us.
weren't there, Terry. The rail trail,
No, my question's more along classification.
it's
Is this a residential
open
area?
space and recreation
owned by the
parcel,
town.
owned by the town.
Owned by the town, so it's an industrial commercial area.
Terry, stop it.
No, seriously.
Don't
I am
be a wise
completely
guy.
serious.
Don't be a wise guy.
I'm not being a wise.
You are being a wise guy.
I am not.
But, so I understand.
If this is not residential, and if it's not residential, it's commercial industrial, then this is commercial industrial.
So, I think Terry brings up a good point in the sense that, you know, I think we need to discuss whether there needs to be public utility carve-out in the bylaws. and it should-
Municipal.
And like recreational,
If they don't fit a category.
Well, we are already going to do that, so I don't see why we need to discuss this. There's plenty of times that we've approved projects on town property,
So there's
similar
been
things.
precedents to do things like that.
No, it's not precedence, we've done
Done
that,
it before, it's a precedent, right?
yes.
Okay.
But that doesn't matter. We need to get an opinion. It's been raised tonight that it's questionable by a member, so we're going to get an opinion on it. So I
Okay,
don't
and they're
think we
waiting
need
until
to
that
be
opinion's
discussing
been
this.
Delivered, right?
We what?
That particular aspect of that application is waiting until that opinion's being delivered, right?
for that one item,
Yeah, for that one item.
and then they would have to refile to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once it's been defined whether there's a utility exemption or
Well,
a municipal
because,
exemption.
yes, because they chose to remove it from the project so the project could be approved,
Okay.
right? So we don't know what they're
Version
gonna do.
controls.
Maybe they're gonna
Mulch
wait
sucks.
till we get an opinion. Maybe
Well,
they're
then maybe this
gonna
should wait
remove it
until
up.
that
Don't,
opinion
don't,
comes through.
don't do this, Terry. Why are you doing this? You're trying to, what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to clarify the situation.
You're not.
between
You're trying to cause
residential-
trouble.
Okay. I'm looking at erosion control.
Yes, I didn't point it out when I was over there, but the purple circle is the erosion controls that we have proposed.
Oh,
for
okay.
Stockpile
Yep.
location.
Yep.
We proposed the stockpile location where it is because around the trail's really heavily wooded, and there's already power lines that go over the community trail there, and they did clear cut that area earlier this year, so we proposed it in that area. I'm not sure what it looks like right now, how much it's grown back, but in an area that was more disturbed than the forest.
Okay.
To the bridge.
Okay.
And then we're proposing to have extra erosion controls on site if needed. But the support piles themselves are within the river,
Okay.
lying under waterways, so.
Yeah, just curiosity, so are you putting footings and then?
Look at their helical pile.
Yeah, vehicle
Yeah, there's
helical
beautiful
Yeah.
drawings in here. Yeah.
I had the
Yeah.
same question.
6 helical piles as support, and then concrete blocks on both ends.
She spent time getting ready for her presentation, so
This is a nice package.
But are the blocks precast blocks that are just placed, or are you going to cast them in place there?
I believe
read
they're
the
precast.
Deck block or similar. Okay, so
Oh,
it
good
looks like
question.
they're precast. No, you have a note here that they're a deck block or similar, so I assume they're made ahead of time. I'm just trying to figure out how much, it sounds like there's very limited disturbance to the site when you're building this.
Yeah, and it's already pretty heavily disturbed by foot traffic
Yeah.
walking through the stream directly. So once the bridge is there, sediment should be able to settle, vegetation should be able to reestablish. We're also proposing a seed mix in the 200-foot riverfront area and within the BVW, just to help that area reestablish as it should. And we're proposing removal of the stick bridge that's currently blocking the stream, which should restore natural hydrology to the area as well.
And it should make, say, the crossing safer.
It should, yeah.
Because the last bit, is all getting eroded down, so it gets steeper, so this is gonna just start further up the hill, right, the bank, and so.
Do you have an idea for the construction time, approximately? Like, is it one day, or is it like a couple of days, or?
I have to imagine over a couple of days.
So the stream will not be, the brook will not be impacted, it's just a bridge going over the top.
Yeah, the only thing being placed directly in the waterway is the support beams.
Okay. If that's the case, do we have to, did we talk to Natural Heritage, or do we have to?
So, Natural Heritage is requiring a MESA filing, so I suggest we wait for that to come back.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be back by August, but perhaps. John, did we get a DEP number on this?
I did not check that, but I can.
We did get a DEP file number. I checked earlier today. It is 030-0500. And there were no technical comments from Mass DEP.
No comments?
No comments.
Okay. 500.
So how long does it take to hear from MISA then?
It'll take at least 30 days, but it hasn't been sent in yet because we have to get it checked for the application. So I move that we continue this until August 12th, I believe. Any further questions on it?
Sorry, quick one on the mulch stock for the stockpile laid on area. You use the term stockpile, but it sounds to me that would just be for the material. You're not actually
Yeah.
digging dirt and stockpiling dirt there.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't anticipate any extra sediment because we're not digging
You're not
post
removing
holes
anything,
and
right?
things
Okay.
like that, yeah. So yeah, it would just be for bridge materials or any equipment that they want to store there.
Do we need erosion control for that? If it's not,
Well, it's, I mean, next to the brook.
I mean, it's not bad to have, I'm just saying.
More importantly, you need a lock and key.
Yeah,
I
well,
would-
that's-
It's gonna be,
That, I mean,
it's
that,
gonna be along the community rail trail.
Yeah, and that's assuming that the trail crew wants to store
Yeah,
stuff there. They may want to take everything.
that might be a
But then-
smart idea, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that's,
So maybe a
Astute.
new point about having erosion controls there if we're not stockpiling anything there, so,
Yeah.
okay,
Plus, it's limited time factor also.
yeah.
you think it'll only take a day or two to put up?
I think it'll be 5 days or less. I don't think it's going to be a week.
Okay.
So,
So
Question.
motion, yeah,
So how do they get the materials down there?
oh,
So does that mean we're gonna drive on the,
yeah, they can drive on there. They just
On the
have
rail
to
trail?
Notify the town that they
Okay.
can drive on there.
yeah, because whatchamacallit?
I do have pictures of the trail if anybody's interested in seeing where it's going.
Down from Baldwin Terrace
Baldwin
there.
Terrace, yeah, okay, I just,
All right, so this is a motion to continue to August 12th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Justine.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
That was a
Thank you.
good presentation, thank you.
All right, next, we have another new notice of intent, Mass DEP and Groveland notice of intent for 209 King Street, NEC Substation, TRC applicant on behalf of New England Power Company. DBA National Grid owner. Applicants are seeking a change to the order of conditions issued as part of a notice intent for the installation of approximately 100-foot-long buried conduit line to connect the existing substation to the nearby overhead transmission line. If you recall, we did a site visit there before, I forget when that was.
This is the wrong order of conditions. This is for the concurrent National Grid project.
Oh,
I
yes,
printed the wrong one.
the right-of-way one,
Yeah.
right?
Ah,
Yeah, this is TRC requesting the change to the order of conditions, and I provided you the ESC order of conditions, so.
Okay. So maybe we can hear what the issue is. We might have to continue it.
Hello. I don't know. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
yep.
Perfect. All right. Let me share my screen because I have a short presentation I can show to kind of explain what we're looking at doing. And so originally, so this is again the King Street substation. My understanding is, my name is Jeremy Foote. I'm with TRC. I'm a senior wetland scientist. I've been out to the site. I've looked at the site. And I'm helping sort of move this along to the next stages. And like we'd said, we're looking at trying to discuss with you whether or not we can amend a previously approved NOI, or if you're going to want an entirely new NOI for this process. And so there we go. So this was the original approved scope that we have the order of conditions for. Can you guys see my mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
So the original line, so this is the substation. And the original plan was to dig a trench from the substation through, the trench was going to be within the substation and then exit the substation about here and connect to this structure. Since then, they have adjusted their scope to, instead of digging out here and connecting to this structure, they're going to they're going to go through this fence and connect it directly to this structure instead.
Wait.
So instead of creating as much disturbance, they're really limiting the goal is to limit the extent of the disturbance. And so here's the updated impacts that we're looking to discuss with you about whether or not we could just amend the already approved NOI, or if you're going to want an entirely new NOI. And so here are the original delineations, the buffers, and then here's the line. And so we have a small table that talks about the original and the new, how the original and the new temporary impacts outside of the substation and within the substation, and what those impacts are. So the plan is to all of the work within the substation. So we're not crossing into anything to get to this work, because all of the work is going to originate within the substation. So we'll use the already established access roads to get into the substation. So we're not creating any new disturbance, crossing any wetlands or buffer zones or anything like that. Well, technically buffers because it goes into this access road, but this is already previously disturbed, established access road to get into the substation, and then within the substation, start the trench, and then, cross this small area here to create two parallel trenches for the underground lines. And then once the lines are installed, we'll replace all the soil and replicate what we have disturbed. And so that's our current plan. And so I believe we have Maggie from National Grid is here to talk about project specifics if you have questions, but that's our goal. Our goal is to hopefully be able to just amend the current NOI that's been approved, or talk about your feelings about that, or talk about if you want to require a brand new notice of intent.
Is there a way to show the impact areas side by side? Because it's like comparing an apple and an orange.
Well, that's what this table is.
Table, we
Is
can't-
you have the
we
original
can't see
impacts.
see
Because
it,
we,
yeah.
we
We
would
can see that with a
normally,
microscope, but if you could, a picture is worth
we
many,
would
many
normally
tables.
have that in front of us.
That-
Oh,
that's-
there,
that's
hey,
not
that's
even-
okay.
Okay. But I mean, can you just show us on the, one of the diagrams, side by side?
So,
Oh,
You know, sort of like a before and after, but side by
yes.
side?
Give me. Yeah, I think I could do that.
And
Let's
test your
do.
Zoom skills here.
Let's do. Stop.
And maybe
stop.
just hopping back and forth between those two.
Oh, Grand Canyon. I love that picture.
Right, it's a great picture.
Yeah.
So let's do.
Good resource area.
I love it.
I think basically when we looked at it, it was coming out the back corner.
The corner that was closest to
Valley Tree there.
Valley
Valley
Tree.
Tree, yeah.
And then there was that whole wall, and now they're looking at doing it
And just kind of going
closer to where we came in.
Correct.
And that makes it shorter, there's less impact.
Yeah.
It looks,
That's what it seems.
the table seemed like a significantly less square footage impact
Yeah.
overall.
So,
And easier to get at, too.
Yes.
so
This makes more
Okay,
sense.
that's this.
Oh, look.
Oh, look at you.
Wow, you are smart.
Perfect.
So this is on the left side is the original plans where they're having they're trenching. So they're trenching a lot longer than
Yeah.
original. I don't know about longer. I'd have to look at the table. But so this is the change. This is our original when they were connecting to structure 199, and then here's the new one where they're connecting to structure 198 instead.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that there's two lines, and I think there was some mention of a 4-foot wide trench, is the new one actually two trenches, or it's just one trench that just happens to be a little bit wider?
Yeah, it's two smaller trenches instead of one larger trench, as I understand it. But I think Maggie can talk to that a little bit better than I can. I'm just a wetlands nerd.
No, Jeremy, you are correct. It's two smaller trenches as opposed to one larger trench. And really what pushed us, for this change, of course, obviously it's better that we're having less impacts this way, but it was the terrain to get to structure 199. It was just too hazardous and difficult for personnel and machinery. So
Yeah.
this
We
is
were really
that was kind
questioning
of
that.
what drove. Yes, I can imagine. It's quite a steep up to structure 199. So that's what pushed us for this scope change.
so commissioners, here's the issue. Is this a minor enough change that we can have them amend their orders of condition? We can amend the notice of intent and add the changes to an amended order of conditions? Or is it a major change or a big enough change that we need them to refile the whole thing?
I don't know how to scale that. but
Well,
I think the fact that it is resulting in less impact is a pretty mitigating circumstance in the favor of making it as simple as possible.
What did you say, John?
I provided the guidance from.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And
so what does it say?
Unforeseen circumstances, relatively minor.
So, in my viewpoint,
The trench is a trench.
they're not changing the type of work that they're doing.
They're not building a new structure.
Right, everything that they were going to do, they have to do, or vice versa, but it's less.
And they're doing less of it, yeah.
Okay, that is a very smart way to think about it.
So,
Motion to amend the,
Allow them to amend.
motion to allow the amendment of the orders of condition as presented.
Second?
Second.
Yeah, I beat you on that one, buddy.
So are you going, if we're going to allow this to be amended, are you going to are you looking to, are you tonight looking for the answer to us to tell you, yes, you can amend it, or are you looking for us to vote to amend it tonight?
Well, I mean, if you guys are willing to vote on it, I will absolutely take a vote on it. But this was more of a discussion to find out whether or not you all wanted us, if filing an amendment was appropriate and you would agree with that, or if you wanted us to file a brand new NOI. And so, if you're willing to vote on it, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to say no to that. But if
Since we do not have anything in front of us,
Yeah, you
I'm
make a good point,
uncomfortable with voting to amend it without really looking at it closely as to what we're amending. So I would,
Stephanie's motion was to allow the amendment.
yeah,
Yes.
so, but
Or
I would-
allow them to propose the amendment.
I would just say that we continue this until August 12th, where they can present the amendment to us, and then we can approve it, right?
Well, do we
Absolutely.
need to allow for them to make the amendment?
Yeah,
So
we're,
we can vote on
Yeah,
that part?
That's what you motioned, right?
Yeah, allow for the,
But is that even a motion, or?
Yeah,
I don't
is
think
it-
we have to vote on that.
no, I don't
I think
think
it was
so.
just, we're asking them to come back.
okay, perfect.
So we're continuing the discussion, and then,
come back with the
Come back with the
amendments.
amendment.
So do you withdraw your,
Do I have to?
I don't
Well,
know.
it was seconded, so.
I
Yeah,
withdraw my motion to allow for
Tom
the
also seconded
amendment of the project
I'll second
at
that.
209 King Street.
All right, so.
Because that was our big thing, because the difference in effort, permitting effort between a brand new
Oh, yeah.
notice of intent
Oh, we
and
understand.
amending. Yeah, we just didn't want to we didn't want to assume one when the other would have been
And
fine.
we appreciate you asking the question ahead of time.
All
Thank
right,
you for doing
Teamwork
this.
makes the dream work.
I think if you can, you know, in the amended, like, have that table that you show and whatnot, that'd be great to clearly show how it's less impact moving forward. That would be fantastic, I think.
Absolutely.
an A+ on slide manipulation
Yeah.
on the fly.
Impressed.
so I'll make a motion to continue to August 12th.
Second.
All in favor?
You're gonna wait till
Aye.
We're going to win this one. Be right back. Oh, aye.
He's busy.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank-
Next, we're going to public meetings, non-hearing. So the first is continued Groveland request for determination of applicability for One Federal Way, Milton and Judith Blake, owners represented by the applicant, Ray Hool of R&R Building Creations, tax map 49, lot 8C. Applicant is seeking a Groveland request for determination for the construction of a 42-foot by 90-foot addition to an existing commercial structure, with the proposed addition located approximately 109 feet from the delineated wetland area. And if you recall, we visited the site on June 27th with the wetland scientist from Williams and Sparages, who showed us where the actual BVW was measured from, and we also confirmed that there was, after heavy rain the day before, that there was no stream in place. So I believe that we're happy with the fact that the structure is outside of the 100-foot buffer in this case, and we can, I think, offer a negative determination of no impact.
You want me to make a motion?
Oh, if you want to, sure. I'm just waiting to see if there were any questions on it. You weren't there, were you?
I wasn't there for the second one.
Yeah, but you saw it.
I saw
And
it.
I-
I had concerns about the culvert that was causing what might be considered an intermittent stream. I mean, you could see where there was,
Yes.
where water would go through there, but it's, you know,
So we had some discussions.
parking lot runoff.
Right. We had some discussions, made some suggestions about maybe where the water could be
Redirected or.
redirected.
The
and sent
stormwater.
And some riprap.
Yeah.
So I think.
So we'll put that in the permit, just to say
Just
we
a
suggested
recommendation.
stormwater management from the,
So did you make a motion?
So, okay, so, move to negative determination on One Federal Way.
Second.
any questions on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, you get to see government in action.
Yeah, right. Nice working with you guys, thank you.
You are part of it. You have to come here.
He doesn't know where he is.
Okay, so we'll do a permit letter on that, John. You and I can work together on that.
Where am I?
Next is a new Mass DEP and Groveland request for determination of applicability for 912 Salem Street, Two Roads Properties LLC, applicant, tax map 49, lot 11, applicant is seeking a Mass DEP and Groveland request for determination of applicability for the installation of a 1,000-gallon septic tank and installation of a water line within the 100-foot jurisdictional buffer. And representing the applicant tonight is
Adam Haywood.
Adam, take it away.
All right, so basically, this is a previously approved septic plan that the original owner had done. They proceeded with half the project, and they stopped, and they did not do the septic or the water line for the garage. Now that the ownership has transferred hands, we're looking to complete the originally designed septic and install the 1,000-gallon tank, connect to the D-box, and run the water line to the house.
Okay.
So tell us, what are they doing? They're putting a bathroom in the garage?
Bathroom in the garage.
And so, are they gonna put a new septic system in? Just for
The
that?
original septic was designed to have a separate tank for the garage and connect to the same leaching field. To save money, the owner of the property prior didn't do that portion of it. So we're just looking to complete that. And when this was approved, was fall of '24.
So are they connecting it to the system now? Or are
Yes.
they're not putting a new system in?
New tank,
Oh, new.
connecting to the existing system.
1,000-gallon tank.
Okay.
So the new tank right in front of the existing garage for the new bathroom will be.
Off to the side of the garage, yeah.
Right, will be connected to the existing.
Correct.
Newish system.
Yes.
So,
The buffer
Where are we?
zone
Where?
is like this. It doesn't, they don't show
there's the
it, and
wetlands.
then it
Okay,
comes out
geez.
here.
So we're in the 100-foot buffer, but outside of the 75.
Right there. So part, part of it.
100 foot,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, so very
Is the
small
50?
amount, it's right there. That stuff is in the buffer.
So they have to dig up the
They don't show the
driveway?
75.
It's going in
Commercial.
the grass right off of the driveway.
Okay.
So ask your question, Terry.
Is this commercial?
It is not.
It's not, it's residential on a
It's a-
commercial property?
It's a residential house, and it's accessory building to the residential. It's going to be used for personal use, hot rod shop.
Excellent.
All right, so if this is the 50.
How much is in the 100-foot buffer?
It's all within the 100-foot buffer. It stops shy of the 75-foot.
That's a good thing, too.
It looks like now, because there's an existing fence, my assumption is all this area is grass,
Correct.
or
Yep.
previously disturbed.
Right here.
I have a really hard time
One
telling.
hundred's up here.
So here's 100, and then I don't know where it
But
is down
see,
here.
see that kind of line, the dash with the two dots?
Oh, yeah, you're
It
right.
picks up there.
Where's
And then
Terry's
it
colored
goes down
markers?
to the
Yeah, really.
100-foot buffer.
Okay.
So, I mean, seems to
75
me
seems-
not very much of it is in the 100-foot buffer.
The whole thing is in the 100-foot buffer.
Where's the tank?
¿Dónde está el
It's right
tank?
here, A2. A2.
Proposed, wait a sec. Proposed new 1,000-gallon tank, so right here.
Okay.
But, like you said, it looks like it's just outside of 75.
Oh.
Or,
Yeah, it's
Well,
really.
halfway
I'm just
between
trying
50
to
and 100, right?
figure
Let's-
this out, Yeah. Okay.
So,
Um. I've already been here. To look at this, please. What was Tom's question? What did you ask Tom?
So they have a marking of a fence line, so the new tank, all that area is within, it's already grass right now. And I'm looking at a picture, and I would concur, it is all grass or dirt. In other words, you're not taking trees down or anything to put in this tank.
And we approved the septic before?
Correct. The whole system as a whole was approved in like fall of '24.
So recently?
Yes.
But it was
Because
never-
it changed hands, the permit had to be closed.
Yeah, that didn't transfer. And the tank was in the same place,
Same design,
same size, same
same,
place?
same
It's all
everything.
the same.
We approved it before?
Correct.
You see where I'm headed with this?
Okay. Motion
Same place I'm
to
headed.
approve the resubmitted plan at the address
932 Salem Street.
932 Salem Street as previously
well, but
approved?
come up with the answer to that. If we're gonna say negative, you gotta figure out which one it is.
Oh, okay, and we will,
But it's not a, right?
Negative means we're allowing them to do it.
Yeah, but,
Yes, okay, right.
but-
Yep, yep, yep.
but,
But they still have to apply.
well, no, but you gotta give a good reason why it's negative.
Like, in other words, it can be within the 100-foot, however, the disturbance is so little.
will not
It's an
remove, build,
existing
dredge, or alter that
building.
area. Said work does not require the filing of an NOI.
Number 3,
Number 2?
oh, well, let me
You think number,
So, here's the choices. The area described in the request is not an area subject to jurisdiction under the act or the buffer zone, no. That's
Or
not true.
we could have John look back and see why we did
yeah,
it
where's the
before.
previous approval?
Yeah.
Just so we're not guessing. I mean,
Well, but I mean, we should be able to decide this.
We should.
The work is,
I have faith in you, gentlemen. After you navigated that water department thing, you got this.
There's still some navigating.
Yeah, we're not out of the storm yet.
Too soon, Adam, too soon.
Trying to lighten it up a little bit. No pressure. My meeting before this was only 15 minutes.
So, John, do you have any, do you have access to the previous filing?
I can go, do you want me to do that?
It sounds like you're gonna find it a bit faster than we're gonna come up with an answer.
It's under-
If you don't mind.
but in the
Guess it
meantime,
depends on how the filing system is.
Yeah.
It's by street. It's by street.
in the meantime, what I would, if anything, under negative determination, I would say this one fits. The work described in the request is within the buffer zone, which it is, as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to jurisdiction under the Act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions. And then we could,
Can we do our erosion
we could put
control?
our, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
All right, so that's a.
I like that.
That's a good proposal, and we'll see what we did last time.
Look at this.
Wow, that was
Let's see how
fast.
consistent you all are.
Yeah. I haven't made a determination yet.
What was it? Oh, dear.
Hold on.
We made them file an
I'm
NOI.
gonna stick with what we said before.
Crap.
But that,
Well,
They, on the original one, they do the leaching field, and they were right up on the wetlands, it kind of
Yeah.
made a
Much
difference.
bigger impact.
much
Yes.
more
Yeah.
invasive.
so, what we could do is treat it as an amendment.
But it's a
different-
applicant, isn't it?
Well, that doesn't matter, it's the same address, that's all that counts.
It's interesting.
No, I mean, it does, you know, it's focused on the property and what we said could be done.
Can we just check, Mike, if the plans are the same? I want to make sure I don't screw this up now. Oh, boom. Okay.
Same old, same old.
I'm not comparing apples to apples, but the other tank's there. What's the rev on it? 1923. Oh, I got it right here. Here we go.
Now, what's the A1 proposed new 1,500-gallon septic tank?
Can you put that back in the folder?
That's, I believe that's the one for the house, and that's already been installed.
Okay, so it's not proposed, it's,
Correct.
all right.
The old plans, I mean, my brief 30-second look, exact same as what he submitted now. Meaning, the way the gentleman said that we approved it, they built 95% of the system, but didn't do that last little bit.
Correct.
So was it
But if they were
already
doing
approved?
Yeah, the plan's the same as what.
Approved
So
and
then,
NOI?
Well, hold on. On the earlier plan where this proposed septic tank and pump chamber, those crept within the 50-foot buffer. And that may have been what
That's why
put
we
us
did the
over
NOI, yeah.
put us over the threshold for you gotta file an NOI.
yeah, that could
I'm
be.
suggesting that, I'm not saying
Well,
that.
that could be true. Plus, unfortunately, you see, already there was filed a certificate of compliance, so
So they have to refile,
they would have to refile if we go the notice of intent route.
which we should because they're in the 50-foot.
Well, no, it's
they're
not.
not.
No, it's not.
The stuff that was already done was within 50 feet.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying, that
This
may have
stuff is
been what
beyond 75.
pushed us into having them do an NOI.
Yeah.
If it had all been outside of 75 feet, I think we might have said,
Right.
go ahead and put in your tank. But, and now that's all that remains, just the tank and access to the tank, or?
Tank and a water line to the house. The water line to the house will run right along the driveway, which is the 100-foot buffer.
Okay. I'm inclined to say they don't need to file, but I'm one of five.
Yeah.
I would agree based on the, not the exclusion, but whatever, the description Mike read.
Yeah.
I think it's an appropriate use.
Didn't I already make a motion?
Oh, can't remember anymore. Did she make a motion?
I did.
So,
Probably
let's
wasn't
just
in the
make a
wrong.
new
Where do you-
motion
where do you
for
go?
negative determination.
I motion a negative determination, I motion that we make a negative determination for the work to be done at the address that is 230,
932.
932.
932 Salem Street,
And the
for a negative
reason-
determination because the work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to jurisdiction under the act, therefore said work does not require the filing of an NOI.
Second.
Any questions on that?
What number is that?
3,
3.
thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right.
Only more people are coming with pre-approved plans.
Oh, you mean we're not just cuddling
And you're on a roller
salamanders?
coaster thinking we're gonna say negative determination, NOI, negative
I
determination.
know, that was very drama.
All right. Moving along to project updates and discussion. So in the packet, we've got reports for VZ Park from management, facilities, and marketing. So we'll be getting, and financial from John. We'll be getting those reports every month. So you can take a look at those. John and I worked diligently yesterday to straighten out the changeover in fiscal year, which has been
Oh,
very difficult because there was a limit placed on the revolving
Right.
fund that we could only spend $130,000. So we had to figure out how to do that with the help of the town treasurer, Ellen, and we were able to do it. Let's just say that. So, so John will, from now on, John is, for the next fiscal year 27, John will be inputting all of the spending and revenue into the budget form. So he'll give us a budget sheet with showing us how much has been spent for each budget category and how much has been taken in for each revenue source. So that will help us to keep a good eye on where we're going in 2027. In 2027, the revenue, the revolving fund increased to $150,000, which, in my opinion, still is not enough, but at least it's an
better than a poke in
increase,
the eye
yes.
with a sharp stick.
Yes, and so our budget this year is $150,000, so we've matched our budget to what can be spent. And so, that's why we've got to keep a close eye on it to make sure that we're not, overspending. I mean, we can't overspend what we don't have, you know, and so that's kind of the kookiness of it. Unless we have $150,000 revenue, we can't spend $150,000, but
You could.
you know, usually we take in enough like we did this year. Okay,
What were the Lucille's Cottage broken windows? What happened there?
Lucille's Cottage
In
broke.
the facilities
Oh,
update?
they just break, you know, that
Oh,
place.
it wasn't like vandalism?
No, they just,
They just break.
yes, they do, they're
Scene
old.
from The Exorcist.
Sometimes what happens is the glass falls out of the pane because the putty is so old.
Oh,
Any other questions on those things?
negative.
Okay. Next is the write-up for approval, I think it's in the packet, right, John? The VZ staff meetings description, yes, here it is. So every month, we have a meeting of the staff somewhere here.
Or do you need this? Sorry, I had it. It's right here.
Okay, yes, there it is. So this is a description of the VZ Park staff meeting, the members, they're all staff. There's, the only commissioner there is myself, and whoever is voted as the liaison to the staff, this year it was me, so I would be there. And the meeting's under the direction of the park director, currently Vanessa Lopez. Usually, no decisions are made. If there's a decision to be made, I have to bring it back to the commission to vote on it if it's required. Purchase requests, same thing, that's why this month we're voting on some lawn maintenance stuff. And same thing with service requests. So this meeting, this staff is not making decisions. They're presenting their updates and requests, which come back to us, which we vote on. And it's my job as liaison to give you an update every month on what was discussed.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
Say there's an emergency, like, whatever. Partial
Yes.
roof collapse, someone has to decide right away to buy some tarps and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Is there a mechanism to get that done, or do we have to wait until the following month to?
No. I mean, it depends how much it is, but usually if it's an emergency, like say, a vacuum cleaner breaks and it's gonna be $200 to replace it, and we can't, and it happens tomorrow and we aren't gonna meet until August 12th, then I would say the director could go out and buy one, and then we could vote to approve it at our next meeting. If it was something larger, let's say there was a pipe burst and we had to have Baldini come in and fix it, and it was going to be $3,000 to fix it, what I would do is go talk to I or the director would go talk to the town administrator and get her to approve it.
And that's the agreed, everybody is on the same page, that's how we're gonna do stuff? Okay.
And big things are gonna be covered by insurance anyway. Right?
Well, yeah, right, but
In most
sometimes,
cases.
it depends.
In most cases.
It depends what it is.
And you also, I think you gotta demonstrate to the insurance company that you did something right away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we had to leave the water running because nobody could approve
We were
turning it
waiting for
off.
the meeting. Okay.
That would
so
be a
there's-
bad day.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve this new procedure for VZ Park staff meetings.
Second.
Yeah, Tom's back.
God, he's fast.
Any questions on that? Okay, you can take that.
Give me that.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next one is in that same pile. This, we don't need to, oh, all right. This is an agreement, this is a draft that I'm gonna work with the town administrator to put in place as a memo of understanding between the commission and the town, so that it's clear what the town is doing and paying for, and what we are doing and what we are paying for. So there's really nothing new here. This is pretty much how we have operated. There may be a few tweaks. And as far as the town, obviously.
You're formalizing it.
Yeah. Fire police protection, plowing, et cetera,
Okay.
that picking up the trash, special requests, capital improvements, using CPA funds. So, I guess we can just vote as a draft, but we'll come back. What I'm gonna do is give this to the town administrator, and I'm sure she's gonna come back with some comments on it, and then we'll have a final thing that we'll vote on. But I'd like to make a motion just to approve this draft so that we can say that the commission voted on this, and this is what we think. Any questions on that?
No, I think this is pretty comprehensive. This is good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. All right. Safety issues at the park. So,
Wait, which
Is
one's
there a
that?
document on that, or is that?
no.
Open
Oh,
discussion?
This is just me telling you about a couple of things. Let's see, where is it here? Safety issues. Yes, so the director is telling me that there are campfires being lit down by the pond on a regular basis.
That's not
Did we
And-
still have the fire pit there? or
No,
we
the
took
fire
those
pit
out?
was
Everything's-
removed.
been cleared out.
And
So who's doing
also, there's been small amount of vandalism, and, and also there were dogs being off leash, and there was two dogs got in a fight there. So she wants to write a couple of letters, one to the fire department and one to the police department, just bringing them up to speed on these issues and making sure that they know that we want them to continue to watch out for this stuff for us, because obviously, we can't do anything about it.
That sounds appropriate.
So she'll write the letter. It doesn't have to come from us, it can come from her. The next one is to approve, this came from the Buildings and Grounds Manager, Doug Soper, the purchase of a lawnmower and weed whacker, which will be under $2,000 budget. He estimates the cost to be about $1,000 or less.
Motion to approve the
Second.
purchase of maintenance equipment as stated.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. All right. Correspondence, we have none, I believe. The next one is open discussion regarding the wetland revolving fund. So just quickly run through this. So, and I may have said this before, not 100% sure, but the finance department moved all of our fee money into a revolving fund that's called the Wetland Revolving Fund. And the reason why this is of concern is because it's all in one account, but it really needs to be in two accounts, because fees from a state filing, like a notice of intent that we get like $67 from, needs to be very specifically spent. It can only be spent on issues regarding the Wetland Protection Act. So, you can't spend it on,
A lawnmower?
anything else. It's very strict. Whereas fees that we collected under the bylaw, which are the majority of the money that's in there, like, for GRDAs or GNOIs or seasonal waivers, that kind of thing, that has no such restrictions on it. There are restrictions on it, but they're not as strict as Wetland Protection Act fees. So they need to be separated. So in order to separate them, John and I have to go through, say, the last 4 years of filings and separate out the money that's in there, what came in for state, what came in for.
Like manually?
I used AI to do it. It took me 20 minutes, and I got
Okay.
it done for a chunk of things that I got.
Okay.
So it won't take long, but then we've got to have a discussion with the finance, with the treasurer about it, and get the town administrator for buy-in, and then it's gonna have to go to town meeting.
This has to go to,
Yes.
if this was a mistake
set
that
up a
they
new
were
revolving
combined
fund.
in the first place.
Well,
It was unanticipated,
but
to use today's word.
but we need to, they need to establish a new revolving account, and that can be only done at town meeting. However, the town administrator told me that she would consider, on a case-by-case basis. If we can show the breakdown, which I'll be able to show the breakdown in that fund of what's bylaw and what's state fees, and we come in with wanting to, say, do something in Meadow Pond or something and pay for it, that she would allow that.
What does John's salary come out of? Where does that?
Oh,
how's
that comes
funded?
out of the budget.
But who, is that
That's,
our budget or?
yeah, it's the conservation budget. It's not paid for by fees.
It's the department.
But I mean, could it be, could we pay a portion of his salary where he is administering to the Wetland Protection Act, which is a significant part of your conservation activities, right?
Yes, we could, if we wanted additional time, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
But right now, it's fine by the budget.
Are bonuses allowed for town employees? I'm serious. I've never worked in government, I don't know if that's allowed.
Probably not.
I think they're probably illegal.
Okay.
But
I didn't know.
here is one way John could be helped, and I've told him this already, is John could go get his Mass Association of Conservation Commission certification, and we could pay for that out of the Wetlands Protection Act portion of that money.
Yeah, and he got that done in like, what, 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, and also,
Couple of years.
any of us who are not certified and want to take a course, we could use that money to pay
That's
for that
appropriate
too.
funding from.
Yes,
From
I don't think
that.
I ever did get reimbursed, actually.
Oh,
It's fine.
yeah, unfortunately,
It's
that's
whatever.
too
this job
bad.
shouldn't cost you any more than mileage on your car and your life.
Well, now you can take the courses online, so it's really a matter of just the fee. I think it's only like $50 for members, so. All right, so anyway, we're pursuing
Still
that.
moving along.
Yes, we're moving that through.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you an update on that. All right, and other items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting. I don't believe we have anything like that, no. Conservation agent update. John,
So my only update concerned, the lawnmower
yes,
situation that Doug requested, but it's kind of a moot point now since you guys approved the purchase of the.
oh, yeah,
So
okay.
it's fine.
Okay.
You're going to work with Steve to get that Steve and Doug to get that purchase, right?
Right, so the sequence of events, when I went to Steve, he suggested I talk to Arthur, and then when I asked Arthur, he suggested that the commission, either vote to request the highway department to
Oh.
take over mowing,
Oh,
They're
vote
very, very particular.
to purchase a new lawnmower, vote to contract out the mowing services, or Rebecca suggested that, I guess the highway department purchase new lawnmowers, and so.
Oh, if there's
they could
surplus
buy
equipment,
Old lawnmower too.
surplus equipment,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you guys already voted for it.
yeah,
Well,
well,
new means new to us.
yes, well, but see, what he does is mow very small areas that the town highway department does. They mow a big amount of place, but they have big mowers. They don't mow close to the building, and so it's more appropriate for a smaller push mower than some big.
Well,
thing.
don't assume that all of them are the big ones that they ride on.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's probably worth asking.
Yeah, so, but it's, you guys have to vote on that, so.
Well, we did. We voted on.
Well, if you want me to
Oh, we have to vote on whether to add, okay, move to ask John.
So,
Ask Arthur about the status of possible used lawnmower surplus from the town.
As long as they're clean, so they don't have any knotweed on the blades.
Oh, you can't guarantee that anywhere.
No, they should be cleaning the blades.
All right,
So-
well,
so-
okay, I'll accept that friendly amendment.
So we voted to approve the purchase of, can we somehow
Yeah,
put
just
a
amend
stay
that.
on that, or?
Let's just
pause?
amend that vote to say, if we can't get one from the highway department, we'll
It's approved.
buy one. Right? Sound good?
That's exactly
You're
what I
so
was about to
smart,
say.
Michael.
All right, so that's the motion, to request from the highway department any surplus mowers, and
Well-
if it's not available, buy.
Or what they have is appropriate.
Yeah, appropriate
Appropriate,
surplus.
yep.
And that means like a
Appropriate.
push mower, right?
Hmm?
Just like a
Like a residential.
22-inch push
It's
mower.
whatever Doug is looking for.
Right, ask
Is
him
what we
what he
want to
was
ask
looking
for.
Something that works,
All
Check
right.
with Doug.
mows.
All-
We don't need a 4-foot wide swath,
No, the highway department.
because we do
has-
need to get near the buildings.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. John, what's the deal with the recycle bins at the park?
I believe that the last time I spoke to Rebecca about this, two of the bins, were provided under the old contract, and the new vendor is going to take over picking up recycling for those two bins. But if you want any additional ones, the commission has to vote to approve that.
Are these
Oh.
the big ones with the lids on them that were handed out a year ago?
I believe so.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, those are huge.
Yeah, but
95
it's every other
gallon.
week.
Yeah.
But VZ didn't get those.
Oh.
They kept the bigger ones from Waste Management, or they have the option to keep the bigger ones from Waste Management.
Well,
Because it's.
Everybody did.
Well, it's town property, and, under the agreement, if the property is owned by the town, then the contractor automatically knows that they can pick that up. They don't
But
need
I think I think the whole town's like that. I think the residences are using.
Only the resident, only private property. So if it's town property, you're able to keep the Waste Management parts.
Right, but the ones that they handed out a year ago was Waste Management.
No, it says Town of Groveland on it.
yeah, they were, the town
Green
owns
ones,
those.
the big-
I think so.
The big green ones that were
Yeah.
handed out last year.
Yeah, those are the town-owned ones.
Actually, it doesn't even say anything on it, I think, right?
No, it's got the town seal on it.
Okay.
And they've
So-
got like registration numbers. on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But,
So,
but is that what they have? Those,
They have the Waste Management ones.
so
the small,
I think they're bigger.
here's what's there.
Okay.
There's one town one, there's one waste management one that we got a long time ago because they gave it to the town and nobody wanted it, so we took it up there. And then there's I would say a 60-gallon smaller one, like the trash size, that has a recycle thing on it. So there's those three. So the question is, what you're saying is they're willing to use those. It doesn't have to come from the official green town one, right?
Correct.
So here's my question. How about if we had 4 of them? Like if we used another one of the 64-gallon ones, stuck a recycle thing on the side of it, could we do that? Is there a limit on,
I don't know the answer to the limit portion of the question, but if you want to add any more, all I know is it just requires a commission vote.
Oh.
And then it goes to the select board to decide.
okay,
Do we know how many the Waste Management Company has allocated to VZ Park?
none.
How can Oh, so fine, so that's wrong. That can't be. It needs to be more than that. I mean, like, I gotta believe the recycling bins at Bagnell School are more than one bucket,
Yes, well,
you know.
they've always picked up whatever recycling was there. When Waste Management was doing it, they picked up whatever was there for recycling. They didn't care.
There are no limits on
There were
recycling.
no limits on it
Right.
every week.
That was true for all of us.
But
Yeah.
then, when February came, we didn't get any green cards until I asked the question and John was asked the question about it and John asked. And then one green one from the town showed up last week.
For the whole, all the units?
Yes.
All 3 units plus the park.
Yes, so I think we should have at least 3 95-gallon ones, regardless of where they
residents.
came from, for the 2 residents in the park. But even that's probably not really enough. So either we request, 4 95 official ones, or at least 2 more official ones, or we are able to use what we've got and just by putting a sticker on it, we can allow them to pick up 4. I don't
Is
know.
the residents on Washington Street fine?
They're
got-
separate, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry if I missed that part.
So,
No, yeah, I think we should have many.
Three sounds,
I was gonna say 4 to 6, but we can
for
quiver.
VZ?
Well, think about if you have an event and someone brings a couple of
You know what,
coolers
that's a
of,
really good
or
point.
they have like whatchamacallit,
I mean, are we gonna do carry in,
The
carry
camp.
out for events?
pardon?
Would we do carry in, carry out for events? You have an event, you have to take all the cans with you?
yeah, they do generate a lot of cans, bottles,
So I think that's a good point.
cardboard.
But what about like the camp now? I gotta believe.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
true.
Plastic bottles,
So
soda
how many do
bottles.
we ask for then?
Well, how much, we should have an idea how much is being generated.
Ah,
We have years of data.
You're so smart.
And we should have an idea of how much is generated from the summer camp, from
Yeah.
a wedding.
That's
So
what
if we
that's-
had 4 containers, we have 4 now, Mike, is that?
4 of those little buckets, the
No,
ones
no,
that they
no,
used
The
to
big
have?
green one, no, the big.
The big,
green
the
We have a couple of
95
big ones,
gallon ones.
a couple of small ones, or a couple of
So-
60
Oh,
gallon.
yeah,
Well-
264s you said? How many?
Well, minimum 2.
No
for
pressure,
each-
Mike.
Each of the residences should have their own, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
And then it
It's how many
becomes,
for VZ?
how much do you need
For the
for the
park.
general park, right?
Yeah.
And I think,
I would say that if we had 1 for each resident of the 95 gallons and 2 95 gallons for the park,
Okay.
for a total of 4, that would be fine.
I would agree
and
with
should
that.
be returned.
They should. But that's a philosophical issue.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
possible.
If you returned cans, if somebody's
Yeah, but
generating cans.
sometimes at
No, trash
events,
cans.
Yeah,
No,
that's
recycling cans.
who are we gonna return the?
if
we're
there's
gonna
a
ask for
wedding,
it.
they don't really care, they're throwing them in the trash.
Okay. Motion to approve
I think I
For-
volunteer for
Up to a total of 4, including existing recycling bins.
Second.
Is that,
Yes.
All right,
Will it be
And-
motioned by Bartel and Grimm?
joint motion?
And
It's
then,
like a joint armed forces
I love
base.
it, yeah, it kind
Yeah.
of is.
okay. All in favor of 4, a request to the select board for 4 95-gallon recycle bins,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
but we
Okay.
should definitely say there's 1 for each of the.
Yes,
Yeah,
So-
if there's 1 already, it's just 3 more, so.
John, I will put this in writing and sign it that we voted on this. So I'll clearly say what we've got and what we want.
Wait, it won't be as confused as what just evolved here.
I hope not. It's confusing, I
Stream
know.
of consciousness. I forgot to write a thank you letter to Fred, but if I do that, can I just buzz around to all of your houses at some point in the next week and just sign a thank you letter, thanking him for his service?
Sure.
Sure.
Is that okay? Thank you. I'll put
Yes.
that on my
As
thing.
long as I don't have to get off my porch.
I'll do it, I'll try to do it Friday.
And Jill was appointed by the select board in June, and she would be here tonight.
She's already missed 100% of the meetings.
I know.
Since she's been appointed.
No, she went to the,
Meetings.
sidewalk. Okay.
Meetings.
Doesn't count.
Not from the sidewalks. And her past performance doesn't
Uh-oh.
count.
Okay.
Wow. Everybody's allowed, like, to miss a couple of meetings for vacation, you know, what the heck?
Except Mike.
She could always zoom in like the rest of them.
Yeah, but she's out of the
Satellite
country.
phone up. and
Remember that
do-
time we called Fred and he was on the top of some mountain somewhere in New Hampshire, Vermont?
Yep.
He was like, yeah, no, I'm not coming in.
So I would like to move
Minutes.
that we approve the January 8th, 2025 and December 11th, 2024 meeting minutes because I have some changes to the more recent one.
Second.
Any question on those minutes?
No.
Okay. All in favor of approving December 11th, 2024 and January 8th, 2025 meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
See, this says we already talked about separating those accounts. That's what I'm confused
Oh,
about.
okay. Yeah, well, I didn't go into probably as much detail. Sorry. I knew, I thought I talked about it, but
I was absent to one of them.
And
All right.
my,
June 10th.
my requested changes, I'd like to approve the minutes from June 10th with the following changes, if acceptable to the rest of the commission. On page 2, I'm an old guy. I'm a himself, not a themself. In the bullet point on all 3 town wells have exceeded permitted PFAS levels since 2021. That's not technically true. They exceed what will be the standards, and they have exceeded those future standards since 2021. But we've been compliant with, except for one exception that could have been just a bad data point. So I don't want this to look like we've been, in this case, water and sewer, have been out of compliance with PFAS levels. Groveland has been significantly below the PFAS levels up to the regulations that are going into effect, but still compliant. So I don't know, some way just to make it,
Do you want me to just strike it?
I think that's fine. Because I don't think it adds anything right there.
That's true, it's not.
yeah, I guess
That is a good point.
that's a good solution.
And also, just to note, when I refer to you as themselves, I'm just using as like a general pronoun.
That's fine,
not like
that's fine. Yep, no, not to worry. I just would prefer to see himself in there. People sometimes like to see themselves, see what I did there? Referred to as himself. And
I'm in pain.
I don't really care.
And when I recused myself in the vote, this is on page 5, I don't think I abstained because I wasn't voting.
I was wondering about, I was just looking at that, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think the fact that you then, right below that, say Terry Grimm rejoined the commission, I think that sort of settles why I'm not in the vote count. Does that make sense? Sounds good. And then finally, you, along with 99% of the rest of the world, gave me an extra M on page 8.
Crap.
And
No
it's
time for
maybe
the
99.9% of the rest of the world, and you've done great up till now. You have,
Oh, so disappointed.
you were so far above average in just keeping it to one M.
Pretty sure Bartelt was correct the entire time.
I caught you once, right? Or they
Couple.
misspelled it? It was in there
It was in the header
Typed it in.
thing, right? Your thing was spelled wrong in the
Yes,
header. at
I
one
know.
point.
Yes, it's been corrected.
All right, and that is, those are the only changes I'd like in
All right.
those minutes.
So you got a motion?
The motion's out there, very
Motion
long
to
one.
adjourn?
Motion, no.
No.
Motion to approve the amended minutes for June 10th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, unanimous. Okay, so I want to thank John for finding that file.
Wow, that was so
Pretty
quick.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, I'm impressed.
You're amazing.
And
Next
also, I do want to note that, we had our difference here, and I think it is something that we've never really thought about as far as what the bylaw says about such things that don't fit into those three categories. We've made assumptions, but we never really said, wait a minute, what is that? You know what I mean? So, that's worth bringing up, and I think that we can get that clarified to address things like utilities and
Municipal
open
stuff.
space stuff or municipal.
Necessary infrastructure?
Yeah, or some other stuff, we should probably come up with a list of things that don't make sense and provide that to town council and have them give us some feedback
How
on
do
it.
we talk to town council? Like, who's going to do that? Do we have to
Well,
ask Rebecca to talk to town council?
I think the best thing to do is write it up first and see what they say, whether usually then they might want to come back and talk to us, or they might provide some questions for us.
Are you talking about the bylaw as a whole, or
No,
about the?
no, just
the
that-
jurisdictional?
Yeah, just that thing about
We might want to start
residential.
with the zoning map, where, just look at the different zoning,
Oh, if it's not zoned industrial, we can't consider it to be an industrial?
well, like the land that the Fish and Wildlife owns. What's that considered? How is that zoned in the town?
Yeah.
It's not residential.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah, so we might, and that would sort of address all these different
It could
entities.
It could be one method, because,
It's one method.
yeah, because actually you could have a residence that's actually in a commercial zoning.
Yeah, sometimes, so that's not completely dependable.
Yeah, we gotta
Right,
be
but it's,
careful.
But it's a starting point.
and it's.
Have we thought about
It's another
this?
wrinkle we should know about.
Yeah. I think we should also consider, and it may just by default go under something like public utilities if we put a category in there like that. But something that's existing, and then someone, whatever, the federal government comes around and says, or the state says, hey, you gotta do this now. And then whatever department in town has to do this,
To comply with
To
the new
comply.
regulations.
and, I don't wanna say we have no choice in it, but.
We have.
We don't have any choice.
No, right, I mean, we gotta be reasonable about it. It's sort of like the substation, to be honest, we're never gonna.
Yeah, but see, you gotta be careful, because the towns have to follow the Wetlands Protection Act. There's only very limited exclusions and so here's a case, is like, utilities are exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act, but they're not exempt under the Groveland bylaw. The only difference is, it's not clear, like you say, like when they're doing
Neither fish nor fowl.
the work in the right-of-way, what is that? You know what I mean? So do we want to exempt all utility work or not? You know what I mean?
I don't think we should use the word exempt. We should give ourselves the ability to make a
Categorize.
discretionary.
Yeah.
Well, we could add a waiver.
Those are two different thoughts. So categorize, but
We could
Well,
add a,
discretion,
Yeah, I think waiver.
discretionary waiver.
Yes.
add that
because-
ability to give a waiver
Yeah.
for those things. I wouldn't want a blanket waiver.
No,
Right.
no. And I would, just being a Groveland resident, I would like to be better than the state, more strict when we can.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be. You can't be less. Yeah.
No, I know, but what I mean is you can either be the same as them or better.
Yeah, and we're looking at, I think we're looking at projects that are done in the common good as opposed to personal profit.
Right.
And, you know, I can't really speak for the water and sewer department, but I can speak for myself that I don't want to build a $40 million plant.
No, nobody does.
It's a lot of money. We just got our water bills. They didn't go down.
right.
And, you know, they're still reasonable, but they're, it's costing us money.
It's not the Groveland of the 90s. Let's
No.
just put it that way.
No.
We were spoiled for 20 years on our electric rates. and
All right,
reality
well-
has come home to roost.
We'll definitely try to find out about this.
All right, did we move to adjourn? Did somebody do
I
that?
did motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor of adjourning at 9:35, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. It was a long